Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Aftermath series. Let us waste no time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. So we'll have a little bit of a shorter episode today, just mainly because this was a fairly combat heavy episode, but there still are a few minor things that I wish to bring to the light. The first being is that I just love how Matt has sculpted this whole sort of quest line that the Mighty Nine is on. It started with Professor Wako, and she merely instructed the Mighty Nine to deal with this giant problem, but then gave a little bit of a side quest to embarrass the foreman within the site that this mining encampment is on. And then once the party got there, the foreman offered his own reward to give his house all of the credit for the giant problem being taken care of. So then with that, the Mighty Nine were presented with another choice. But now that they have met with the giants and almost battled them to the death, which, thank goodness for Caduceus Clay, because if it were not for him, they would not be where they are now, and they would probably have had to kill many of the giants. So we are definitely super lucky that Caduceus is able to speak that language. Now, it is entirely possible that Matt, when he was writing this sort of quest, he made the enemy the giants, so that way there was a little bit more intrigue, and so that there was an out with Caduceus because he can speak giant. But whatever the case, I love how this also opened up another path for the Mighty Nine to take, a path where the giants don't have to die, and now they are working with them to help reclaim their old home. So what started off as just a simple go take care of these bandits quest has now turned into a very intriguing we're now helping out the giants to help save their home quest. I just love all of the different options and paths Matt created that the Mighty Nine could take. And on the topic of reclaiming the giants' home, the creatures that they were battling, specifically the Cosme, I don't know if any of you are fans or have played The Darkest Dungeon, but in the Crimson Court DLC, they definitely remind me of some of the creatures you can battle. But moving on to some of the conversations that were had in this episode during the downtime of the two battles that took place. Nat is understandably so very down on herself with the fact that she feels like she is abandoning Yeza, and she feels conflicted about how she wants to move forward with her life now that her family could potentially be completely reunited. As she stated, she's tasted the freedom of traveling the world and the coin that these jobs can give her. She doesn't want to go back to just being a housewife and tending to the hearth. And then Caleb shows up and gives absolutely sage advice for our dear halfling goblin friend. You know, I think it's time that Caleb started to take his own advice. Maybe he'd be better off. Who knows? But it's very clear that he does care way more about his friends than he does, well, himself. But back to not feeling down about herself, she's worried that Yeza may end up having a changed opinion on her because of how different Nat is than back when she was in her Veth form. But we've also seen how accepting Yeza is of her new form now. So I'm in agreement with Caleb that I don't think Nat has really anything to worry about. Yeza is completely accepting, and I'm sure he will adjust and adapt to the new situation that is in front of him. And if Nat ever does want to revert back to her normal form, she will have to continue adventuring with the Mighty Nine, which of course, I'm sure Yeza will 100% understand. So while Nat's feelings right now are completely valid and understandable, she still has to remember that the people that care about her deeply will support her no matter what. And as long as she believes that, I'm sure she'll be just fine. And then finally, we were blessed once again with some glorious Fjord and Jester flirting, which Matt comedically and beautifully cut short. I just love these little teases, these little teasers of Fjord and Jester flirting. And usually the conversations end up not really going anywhere. But this time, it seemed like it was going to go somewhere just because of Jester calling out Fjord being awkward and Fjord being like, no, I'm not awkward. And then the conversation potentially going a little bit further, but then Matt just completely cutting us off. Absolutely hilarious and wonderful to see. It is always a delight to witness these two characters and their interesting relationship. But again, I still don't think that they are on the brink of a relationship or anything like that. I think it really is just Jester sort of poking fun at Fjord. I don't really think she has any true feelings for him at the moment. She obviously considers him a very dear friend, but I think it might just be platonic for right now. And I'm going to assume the same for Fjord. They do like to poke fun at each other because, again, I think they both know that there is a potential for a relationship, but it's just not something they can do at the moment. So they'll just have their moments where they poke fun at each other, which again is an absolute delight to see. But now the Mighty Nine move further into the Giant's home as they attempt to cleanse it from all of these demonic entities. It's strange that more of these rifts are opening up. Hopefully they can find the rest of them within this stronghold and seal them permanently. But how many more are there in the lands of Xhorhas? Will it get worse? Will there be a full-scale invasion? I think it's definitely possible. And if so, we may be entering a new story arc, that which involves an invasion from the Abyssal Plane. Or maybe one of the other planes, because the rift within the stronghold seemed to be from the Feywild. So I'm not sure what kind of magic is happening in the lands of Xhorhas that are causing all of these rifts to open up to the different planes. But I'm sure we will get answers eventually. Perhaps it's someone working from the Empire that is attempting to cause as much chaos as possible by opening these rifts. That's the theory I will go with, at least. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts, feelings, emotions during this episode? But with all of that being said, we are going to wrap up. As I said before, it is a bit of a shorter episode because it was mainly combat focused, but those conversations are rather intriguing, and I hope that our dear Knot will be able to come to terms with the whole situation she's in. And I hope we can see more Fjord and Jester moments in the near future. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next week.